had an imposter syndrome. I was wondering, what the hell do I know? What am I going to say? What if I say the wrong thing?
Do you have any tricks how to keep people's attention?
Curiosity and intellectual pursuit are keys to happiness. There's that idea of like, if you're nervous, just imagine everyone naked.
Did he already jump on the table? Jump on the table?
I don't know if my students will agree. Now, I'm a little bit nervous if they see this and like, no, she's boring as hell. But
welcome to Confidence Secrets, the podcast where presence meets power. I'm your host, Kate, self-presentation coach, and I help ambitious women refine the way they show up on stage, on camera, and in the world. Today's guest is someone who truly embodies intellectual elegance and thoughtful living. Gwen Dolske is a voice of wisdom for thousands through her podcast, her classroom, and her writing. Gwen, welcome to the show, and I would love for you to introduce yourself in your own words. Tell us more about what you do and the mission that drives your work.
Thank you, and that was such a lovely introduction. I appreciate that so much. My story is I started studying philosophy in university, and then I fell in love with it, and that has been the trajectory of my life. And in studying philosophy, that's brought me to academia and also the university. And so I teach different courses, philosophy in existentialism, ethics, and I was enjoying the conversations with my students so much that I didn't want to gatekeep what was going on in the university experience. And so my friend Rudy and I started the podcast Good is in the Details with the mission to highlight that curiosity and intellectual pursuit are keys to happiness. A lot of times we talk about spiritual, emotional, and physical well-being, which all rightly so lead to happiness. But we wanted to talk about that curiosity, that spirit that makes you excited to learn more and to grow within and to really feel like you're part of the world. And so that's the story behind the podcast.
So, okay, to warm up things, I have a fun quickfire round for you. So no overthinking, just tell what comes first to your mind. So
Okay.
are you ready?
All right.
Okay, heels or sneakers?
I tend to be a sneakers girl.
Morning routine or evening rituals?
I'm a morning person, for sure. I wake up with that burst of energy. As soon as the sun goes down, I am useless.
I'm completely opposite, completely. Speak from a big stage or lead a private workshop?
Honestly, I like both.
Mm-hmm.
I like the intimacy of the workshop, and then the big stage, there's a lot of energy there too. I like both.
I agree. I also think for you, like both options work perfectly.
Thank you.
And statement blazer or flower dress?
Okay, I like both. But when it comes to speaking, I prefer the blazer, and then the dress, it'll be for an event or going out. But I do like both.
Slick pulled back hair or big volume blowout?
So I'm a product of the 70s, Charlie's Angels, Jacqueline Smith. So I am still stuck in that decade of where I love the volume. I wish I could pull off the sleek ponytail, but I never feel like it works for my face. So I'm always volume girl.
Anna Wintour or Michelle Obama?
Oh, I like both of them. I like both of them.
I told you, it will not be easy, but
I like both.
Tell us
of
what
them.
you love about each of them. Maybe some traits we can pull from each of them, which we can learn from.
Something I like about both of them is that they are established leaders. When they speak, people listen. You sit up and listen. Even the haters, right? Pay attention. They listen. It is in tune with your work. It is that confidence that they have, but at the same time, their confidence comes from years of work. What we see right now is something to aspire to, but keep in mind that it's almost like congratulating somebody at the end of a marathon. It's not about that finish line. That marathon represents the hours and dedication. And that's why we congratulate somebody, whether they were fast or whether they were slow. And it's the same thing with presidents like Anna Wintour and Michelle Obama, is that we're kind of in awe of them, but it's because we know that there were so many points in their life where they were tired and they pushed forward and they moved and they had some rejection and animosity and they still went above and beyond to establish their credibility. And there's also a sense of joy and purpose in their work. So it's not just like an intellectual authority or an expertise. It's also they present themselves in such a way that you want a piece of it because there's a joy. They really are good at connecting with people. You don't always have that, right? Like you can have that. I mean, I see that in the university. Like you can have a brilliant professor who's an expert, but the capacity to be able to engage is not always there. So when you find somebody like these two women you mentioned who are able to not only have that authority, but the communication ability and likability, that's gold.
Yeah, and what's interesting that they both achieved it with slightly different presence, let's say, because Anna Wintour embodies more like authority, power, boss babe type. Michelle Obama is more like warm personality, friendly, even if we take into account their hairstyles, right? Because Michelle has often some curls, some blowouts, while Anna Wintour is quite like a straight hair.
Mm-hmm.
So it all small details, they tell us something different, but in the end, you can be different but achieve the same goal. You can also be commanding, you can also gain authority and power and impact people, but in your own way. And the last one, center of attention or power behind the scenes.
I like to be the power behind the scenes. That's for me personally, but I'm more of an introvert. I like even with the podcast or with speaking engagements, it's the planning out of it that I think I enjoy the most. And then it's the actual engagement. I don't really like being the center of attention.
And I feel you are like really good in this role because you teach a new generation, right? So you are this big power behind the scenes who will bring us new people, new ideas, new developments. So you're the strong power behind the huge thing.
Thank you.
Okay, love it. Thanks for playing along. So now let's shift into presence, confidence, and everything in between. So let's start with first impressions. Whether you're walking into a classroom or stepping on a stage because you're a public speaker, what's your personal philosophy on how you make a strong first impression?
A strong first impression, I think a warm smile, a greeting, be human. We get so nervous about that first impression that we forget to be human. Starting out with a warm smile, shoulders back, head up is great. You don't have to be a tyrant to have attention. And you also don't have to be so humble that you shrink yourself. So somewhere in between that. And when you smile for that first impression, like let's say it's a speaking engagement, you're on stage, and so you need to make that first impression. I think this smile is also to show the joy that you're part of whatever activity this is. And chances are, if you are getting a big speaking engagement, then you are really excited. It's okay to go ahead and show that so that the audience knows that you're looking forward to being there, and it will warm them up too.
And maybe you will notice someone about other people. Maybe you pay attention to some cues when you meet someone, maybe how they approach you or how they give a hand for a handshake, or I don't know, just maybe how they approach you. Maybe you can give us some examples. Maybe someone stood up for you.
I'm trying to think of some examples. I know that it is, and this is for men or for women, because there can be I want to be careful because there can be a bit of a danger in telling women to just smile more. And that's not the path I want to go, because a lot of times when somebody's making that claim like, oh, women should just smile more, it's really saying you need to appear a particular way for me to be comfortable. So I'm not going that route. So this is for men and women when I have met somebody and it is genuinely like this openness and this warmth that makes me want to know more. And then also a first impression is that when somebody asks about you, how are you doing today? Oh, what are you looking forward to? Or that's really exciting. Like something that's beyond like, now what do you do? But an impression that is in inviting a communication instead of standing there and presenting themselves, they're inviting a communication.
So we talked about the first impression, but when you're speaking on a stage or even a classroom, it's a long term engagement, right? It's not like 3 minutes, sometimes 30 minutes, sometimes even more. Is there any small detail, maybe in your posture, tone, or body language that you always pay attention to in order to capture attention? keep the attention, and make sure that you present yourself in the way you are, and in the way you want, and in the way that complements the message you want to convey.
Yeah, two things that I think anybody who's doing any kind of speaking engagement should do, and they're really simple, but it's so funny how we forget. And one is movement. Don't be static and stay still. And so you want to, I do a lot of pacing. Hopefully it's not too distracting. You don't want to be too distracting, but I do a lot of movement. I will walk up and down the stage. It's actually difficult for me for speaking engagements. A couple times they wanted me seated and hold a microphone, and I can feel it in myself that I'm not being as effective. So there is something about movement. And then the other thing when you are speaking is go ahead and do pauses. You feel like saying the or it's more effective when you say something and you give a second for it to resonate or to punctuate the importance of your message. So pay attention to pauses and pay attention to movement. Go ahead and walk up and down the stage. And it's amazing how it will keep people's attention, because people do need to be looking at something. So if you're just standing still or sitting, you're more likely to lose the audience.
Yeah, because you want to use all your body to deliver that energy, right? To support your message with your even like body weight shift or with your both hands. I agree with you, but how you know about it? Because you have experience, right? Because you practice a lot. Because I know for some people it might be better maybe to sit because they will feel more grounded, and if they feel too nervous, too shaky, maybe to ground themselves it is better for some speaking engagements. But my call for everyone who is listening: practice, try different, try to stand, try to sit, try to hold the mic, try to have
the headset thing.
Yeah, the headsets, because some people want to actively use their hands, some people are more like this way. But try different things and you will find your way how you present yourself better.
Yeah, if people are more comfortable sitting, then I would go for that until you get the practice. That's fine. And then another thing is that when you're speaking, so this can be just from when I'm lecturing in the classroom or doing a speaking engagement or podcast, but speak to somebody as though they're your friend, because we get so wrapped up in the presentation and wanting to be knowledgeable, which is all very important. But the communication aspect is whatever your talk is going to be about, or whatever my lecture is going to be about, I talk to the audience like they are my friend. And so then that way it sounds just a lot more fluid and a lot more honest and authentic. And I think that that's then when it's easy to smile. It's easy to walk up and down. It's easy to use your hands because you're talking to a friend. So treat I mean, there's that idea of like, if you're nervous, just imagine everyone naked. I have not found that helpful. I have not found that helpful at all. In fact, no, that's just a no. And so I say, talk to people like you're telling your best friend about this exciting idea that you have. And that will be a lot more relatable.
Out of my curiosity, do you have any tricks how to keep people's attention in terms of student? Because I remember myself being a student. It was so hard because one thing is when I'm going to the presentation or a conference where it's my choice, right? Because I picked the speaker, I want to listen to the speaker. But when I was at the university, not necessarily I wanted to listen to all those lectures. Like, do you have any secrets how to capture someone's attention? Because I remember we had one particular professor. He was very like, modern. And when we just started, everyone was like gossiping, rumoring, did he already jump on the table? Jump on the table? So it was his trick to to establish his presence, to show his authority, but at the same time, to build this rapport that I'm like guy next door, like I'm like yourself. So he will just out of nowhere jump on the table during the lecture just to show his approachability and the energy as well. So he definitely had our attention from that first lection till I don't know the last day of our master's degree. So maybe you have any tricks, or how do you keep attention of students?
It's a
Such a
good
hard
question
role,
because
yes.
it is getting more difficult. So it's not only for students, but this would be for any general audience that the attention span of people has just really waned. And so what I would say is to read the room. That if you're in the middle of saying something and you can tell that people are looking at their, well, not their watches so much anymore, but their phone, or they're kind of nodding off, go ahead and change it up something. Maybe ask for an audience participation, or maybe say, let me tell you this story. That abrupt shift will go ahead and reignite people's attention. So I know I need to do that in the classroom. When I can tell that the students are not into it, then I come up with something, a question to pose, a general discussion in order to light things up. So read the room and be prepared to do a shift in order to change that energy. And it can be a funny story, maybe, or some sort of audience participation, or, hey, raise your hand if you've experienced such. And that immediately snaps people out of their, if they're out of it. So be prepared to change things up.
Agree, yeah. So be prepared for different scenarios. About your rituals, do you have any, maybe some wardrobe choices or mindset resets or daily habits that help you, first of all, ground you, or also help you to prepare for the day of a big event? I remember last time we talked, you mentioned that sometimes you prefer your hair back
Mhm.
because you can be distracted on the stage. So maybe something else you can tell us what you pay attention to.
As far as rituals, I mean, just a regular practice that I have, and this is so old school, so it works for me. I'm not saying that everybody has to do it, but I do like to write things out as opposed to type them. And there is something for me, maybe it's because that's the way I learned when I was a child and I study, but I remember things by writing them out and then reading out loud. And so before any kind of a presentation, I make sure that I read out loud what it is that I'm going to say. I never try to just wing it. I do dress comfortably, and I'll often have at least part of my hair back so that I'm not tempted to play with it. I think I have to give myself a bit of a pep talk. It depends on what the speaking engagement is. When it is with my students, I don't really need that pep talk, but I am so excited about the material because as a professor, I get to plan out the syllabus. So it's very easy to deliver my lectures with an authentic enthusiasm because I myself am excited about the thinkers. In fact, I made a decision that I would only teach the thinkers, the philosophers who I would want to sit and have a coffee with. What kinds of questions would I ask them? And so since I have that desire to know more about these thinkers, it's very easy for that energy to be conveyed. I don't know if my students will agree. Now I'm a little bit nervous if they see this and like, no, she's boring as hell. But anyway, but that's what I would do. And then before any kind of a big engagement, I have to admit that depending on the venue, I do get nervous. And I think that that's important for people to know that I have been doing this for years. And yes, I still get nervous, but I don't want for anybody to think that that nervousness should paralyze you. Be in tune to it and accept that it is your body telling you that you're about to embark on a new challenge. Give yourself a pat on the back because we don't get nervous about things that are easy. So the fact that you have the butterflies, I tend to get dry mouth, so I make sure that I've always got water around. Look at that nervousness as your body telling you, hey, you're doing something new. You're doing something hard. And every time you do that, it gets easier the next time. You build your own inner confidence. And we know this in, any parent knows this with their children. They can't step in and do the work for their children. In order to build the child's self-esteem, the child has to fail and figure it out and do it on their own. It's the same thing when you're an adult. You might make mistakes. Or maybe it doesn't go over perfectly. Maybe you forgot something or a joke didn't land. That is okay because the women that we spoke about earlier, Anna Wintour and Michelle Obama, believe me, they've all had those moments. Famous comedians have had those moments, but it's the way you respond to that. And you think, oh, I could have said this or this would have landed better. And then you're able to walk in. But remember, it's the nervousness, it's the challenge that will make you better for the next one. So don't be afraid of that.
If we are nervous, it doesn't mean that we are not prepared or something. It means that we are caring. We care
Yeah,
about this. It's important.
you're
So
human.
try to shift your perspective if you're nervous, and do your best, and
Mm-hmm.
then just learn from this experience.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that confidence doesn't come. Well, okay, there are some people who already, like, were born with this high level charisma, confidence, and presence. But for the most of us, it's something that we learn, we craft, we master. So maybe in your early stages of career, there were some moments where you struggled with confidence or public presence. So maybe you can share some examples, maybe from your childhood, and what helped you to overcome this and elevate your confidence.
I was thinking, I mean, for parents out there, something that my mom had me do and that was very helpful as a child was she put me in like a theater class. And then I never had any desire to be an actress or anything like that, to be an entertainer in any way, shape, or form. But I loved doing that theater when I was a little girl. And then I think even in high school, I participated in a drama class and then in a class play. And I liked it because of the exercise of the creativity, and also you understand plays so much better. Like a Shakespearean play, it's so different if you have to say the words instead and play the part as opposed to just reading it. So as that kind of an exercise, I really liked it. But what it helped with was speaking, was being able to have your voice project. And I think that today, sometimes when it comes to education, right now, there's a lot of tension in the States about what is useful. Sometimes the curriculum will not highlight these things like theater or drama in the same way that they would highlight other things that are deemed useful. But I am here to say that if you were a parent or if you were somebody who's an adult and wants to work on public speaking, take a class with the local community, with the theater group, and that will really boost confidence. And then as I got older, I remember when I was first starting teaching, and I was so nervous. I had an imposter syndrome. I was wondering, what the hell do I know? What am I going to say? What if I say the wrong thing? I was so wrapped up in myself that it didn't take long before I was in the classroom that I realized it wasn't about me. It was about the students. And when I understood that what I was doing was of service for them, it alleviated that pressure because I was so focused on myself. And I think it can be the same thing with any kind of speaking engagement, is that when you realize you are in service, you have some message, some idea that is to be shared. And it's not all about you. It is for other people to learn from you and meeting their needs. And that immediately helps you interact with people and have that confidence that comes with a spirit of humility and generosity as well as intellect. It's about them.
I love everything when it comes to performance. I completely agree with you on sport, and if or when I have kids myself, I will for sure make sure that they are attending theater, dance classes, for sure, music, because it will give you skills that you
Mhm.
even don't think you will need, but you will need them. It
Everybody
shows.
has to make a presentation at some point in their life for work. Theater is it really is, I think, one of the best ways because it builds confidence. It helps with your memory skills because you're tasked with memorizing things under pressure, in front of an audience. And when you're able to tackle that and work on your voice and then also work in an ensemble, I mean, it just really enhances that life skill that will help you, let's say in university, when you have to do a group project that's a presentation that will then lead to when you're in the workforce and you have to give a presentation. So I think that's a great skill set.
Okay, and to wrap up, from all your experience, what would you say are maybe top 3 tips for creating and elevating your presence confidence, whether on a stage or at event or just in a meeting, for anyone who is watching us and want to start or elevate their confidence? What would you suggest?
I think a way to center yourself is that whatever it is that you're going to present, whatever you're going to talk about, is really review it, before the presentation and contemplate about what it is that you love that you're going to communicate. Because the more you fall in love with that, the easier it is to express it and to explain it and to be excited to share it. Instead of focusing on the worries of, oh my God, everybody's going to be looking at me, or oh my goodness, start to focus on and be secure in what it is that you are going to deliver. And really, yeah, think about that. The other thing I would say is be comfortable. You know, when you were on Good is in the Details, we talked about clothing, and I don't want to sound, superficial or anything, but the reality is that you want to have that element of presentable and at the same time comfort. So that I know whenever I go in front of people to talk, I'm never, you had mentioned this, I'm never wearing something for the first time. I've worn it before. And then I think another thing to keep in mind again is go ahead and be open to some sort of audience engagement. And it can be small, of asking people to raise their hands, because when you do that, then you are able to shift away from a script and be in the moment. The script is important, but you don't want to lose your audience. You are friends with the audience. This is a group project, if you will. Your talk only works if they're there, and they're there to learn from you. And so have that generous spirit. They are your friends.
Thank you. And for those who want to continue learning from you, and what's the best place to find you?
goodisinthedetails.com, or on Instagram, goodisinthedetailspod. And we have a lot of information, and we have a lot of educational content. And your episode is going to be coming out next month, so they can hear all about what it means to be confident. So goodisinthedetails.com.
Thanks a lot. I will leave all the links below, so make sure you follow Good in the Details and also Gwen on her socials and Spotify and other platforms with podcasts. And of course, make sure you follow me, Kate Ziuz, everywhere. Again, all the links are below. Gwen, thanks a lot for this conversation. I feel me and our audience are inspired both intellectually and energetically, because you have such a calm aura and at the same time very elevating. I don't know how
thank you.
How to like describe it. Probably it's better. I'm so jealous of your students, because they can experience this and learn from you on a daily basis. But I hope that my audience will also have this tiny glance on your experience and have a chance to learn from you. So again, thanks a lot for joining and sharing your insights, your stories. Thanks a lot, and see you in the next episode of Confidence Secrets.